Welcome back to the Vedic Mystics channel. In today's video, we explore a fascinating concept that doesn't appear in the classical texts of Vedic astrology. It is the concept of Yogi, Avayogi, and the duplicate yogi, as introduced by Seshadri Iyer. These three elements, Yogi, Avayogi, and duplicate yogi, are said to influence one specific area of life, wealth. They do not influence other areas like health, relationships, or other domains. Note, while intriguing, this concept should not be used in isolation. Always consider it alongside traditional methods like yogas, dashas, and bhava vichara. Think of it as one more tool in your astrological toolkit, not the final word. In this video, we will walk through how to calculate these points, what kind of results they suggest, and we'll also examine a few real life example charts. To break this down further, for the yogi, we'll look at the yogi point, the yogi graha, and the yogi nakshatras. The same applies to the avayogi, its point, graha, and associated nakshatras. Finally, we have the duplicate yogi graha. Unlike the others, this one doesn't have a point or nakshatra, just the graha. Let's begin with the yogi triad, the yogi point, the yogi graha, and the yogi nakshatras. To calculate the yogi point, you take the sun's longitude, the moon's longitude, and then add a constant of 93 degrees and 20 minutes. This sum gives you the yogi point. Now, these longitudes are measured from 0 degrees Aries, the starting point of the zodiac in Vedic astrology. You can think of the constant as 3 signs and 1 pada. So, what is a pada? In Vedic astrology, a pada is an arc of 3 degrees and 20 minutes. This is a fundamental unit. The zodiac circle of 360 degrees is divided into 12 signs, each of 30 degrees, and 27 nakshatras, each spanning 13 degrees and 20 minutes. The least common multiple of these two lengths, 30 degrees and 13 degrees 20 minutes, is none other than 3 degrees and 20 minutes, or 1 pada. This unit is the key that links signs and nakshatras. There are 9 padas in every sign and 4 padas in each nakshatra. So, every pada corresponds uniquely to a combination of one sign and one nakshatra. Now, back to our yogi calculation. Once you determine the yogi point, treat it just like you would the ascendant or moon. It's a specific position in the chart. And like every planetary or chart point, it falls under one of the 27 nakshatras. The yogi nakshatra is the nakshatra where the yogi point resides. From there, we identify the yogi graha, which is simply the ruling planet of that nakshatra as defined in the Vimshottari Dasha system. Since there are 27 nakshatras and 9 grahas, each graha rules 3 nakshatras. These 3 nakshatras ruled by the yogi graha are known as the trinal yogi nakshatras. These three, the yogi point, the graha, and the nakshatras, form the core of the yogi triad. Now that we've understood the yogi triad, let's talk about the duplicate yogi. This part is simple. Once you've calculated the yogi point, finding the duplicate yogi is straightforward. The duplicate yogi graha is simply the ruler of the sign in which the yogi point falls. That's it. No additional point to calculate and no associated nakshatras. The duplicate yogi is purely a sign-based graha. Let's walk through an example to make this clearer. Suppose your yogi point is at 1 degrees and 16 minutes in Taurus. First, we locate the nakshatra for this degree. That's Kritika. According to the Vimshottari Dasha system, Kritika is ruled by the sun. So the yogi graha is the sun. The duplicate yogi graha then is Venus because Venus is the ruler of Taurus, the sign in which the yogi point lies. Now let's talk about the yogi nakshatras. These are the three nakshatras ruled by the yogi graha, in this case the sun. So they are Kritika, Uttara Falguni, and Uttarashada. Together, these are called the trinal yogi nakshatras. Now let's move to the final piece, the Avayogi. The Avayogi point is derived directly from the yogi point. The calculation is quite simple. You take the yogi point and add a constant, 186 degrees and 40 minutes to it. This moves you to nearly the opposite side of the zodiac and then a little further, exactly 6 degrees and 4 minutes more, which happens to be 2 padas. So, in effect, the Avayogi point is the yogi point flipped to the other side of the chart and nudged forward by 2 padas. Once you've located the Avayogi point, identify the nakshatra it falls into, just as you did for the yogi. Then find the lord of the nakshatra using the Vimshottari Dasha system. This becomes the Avayogi Graha. The three nakshatras ruled by the Avayogi Graha are called the trinal Avayogi nakshatras. Now, there's a quick shortcut. Instead of going through the degree calculation, you can use a simpler method. Just count 6 grahas ahead, inclusively, from the yogi graha in the Vimshottari Dasha sequence. For example, if your yogi graha is the sun, counting inclusively 6 grahas forward in the Dasha sequence goes as Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn. And that brings you to Saturn. So Saturn becomes the Avayogi Graha. This method offers a fast, intuitive way to pinpoint the Avayogi Graha without crunching longitudes. Let's revisit our early example to walk through the Avayogi calculation and see it in action. Previously, we found the yogi point to be at 1 degree and 16 minutes in Taurus. Now, to calculate the Avayogi point, we add 186 degrees and 40 minutes to this. That brings us to 7 degrees and 56 minutes in Scorpio. Here's how it works. The exact opposite of the yogi point, that is 180 degrees away, lands at 1 degree and 16 minutes in Scorpio. Adding 6 degrees and 40 minutes, which equals 2 padas, we arrive at 7 degrees and 56 minutes in Scorpio. This is our Avayogi point. This point lies within the Anuradha nakshatra. Anuradha, as per the Vimshottari Dasha system, is ruled by Saturn. Therefore, the Avayogi Graha is Saturn. The trinal Avayogi nakshatras are Anuradha, Uttarabhadrapada, and Pushya, the three nakshatras governed by Saturn. Now, let's confirm this using the quicker method. Start with the Yogi Graha, which in our example is the Sun. Count forward inclusively 6 grahas in the Vimshottari Dasha sequence, and we get Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, and Saturn. Once again, we arrive at Saturn as the Avayogi Graha, just as we did with the degree-based method. In the next few slides, we'll walk through the actual calculations using a real-time example chart. The chart you're seeing was cast for the exact time these slides were prepared, on April 28, 2025 at 8:16 p.m. in Redwood City, California. If you're using Sri Jyoti Star, There's a convenient way to view this information. Just add the Panchanga and Yogi widget, and at the bottom of the widget, you'll find a section showing the Yogi, Avayogi, and duplicate Yogi, as well as the Yogi point. For the specific chart, the Yogi Graha is Venus, the Avayogi Graha is Jupiter, and the duplicate Yogi Graha is the Sun. We'll now break down these values and show how they are derived using the method we just discussed. We begin with the Sun's longitude. In this chart, the Sun is in Aries at 14 degrees and 52 minutes. Since Aries is the starting sign of the zodiac, the displayed degree is already the distance from 0 degrees Aries. So we take the Sun's value as is, which is 14 degrees and 52 minutes. Now for the Moon, this requires a bit more calculation. The Moon is not in Aries, so we need to determine its distance from 0 degrees Aries. To do this, first count the number of full signs before the Moon from 0 degrees Aries. In this case, that is one sun. Multiply that by 30 degrees, which gives you 1 times 30, 30 degrees. Then add the Moon's position within Taurus, which is 3 degrees and 43 minutes. And so the total Moon longitude is 30 times 1 plus 3 degrees 43 minutes, which is 33 degrees and 43 minutes. Now we add all three components together. The Sun's longitude at 14 degrees 52 minutes, the Moon's longitude at 33 degrees and 43 minutes, and the constant at 93 degrees 20 minutes. Adding them gives us a total of 141 degrees and 55 minutes. This is the Yogi point measured from 0 degrees Aries. Now let's determine where that lands in the zodiac. Divide 141 degrees and 55 minutes by 30 degrees and you get 4 full signs, which brings us to the beginning of Leo with a remainder of 12 degrees and 55 minutes. So the Yogi point is located at 12 degrees and 55 minutes in Leo. Let's also calculate the Avayogi point for this chart. We already determined the Yogi point to be at 21 degrees 55 minutes in Leo, or 141 degrees and 55 minutes from 0 degrees Aries. To get the Avayogi point, we simply add 186 degrees and 40 minutes to the Yogi point. So adding 141 degrees 55 minutes and 186 degrees 40 minutes, we get 328 degrees and 35 minutes. Next, we determine where this lands in the zodiac. Each sign covers 30 degrees, so 328 degrees includes 10 full signs. That's 300 degrees. The remaining 28 degrees and 35 minutes falls into the 11th sign, which is Aquarius. So the Avayogi point is at 28 degrees and 35 minutes in Aquarius. Now that we've calculated both the Yogi and Avayogi points, the rest of the information falls into place quite easily. Let's start with the Yogi point, which we found to be at 21 degrees and 55 minutes in Leo. This position lies in the Purva Falguni nakshatra, which is ruled by Venus in the Vimshottari Dasha system. So our Yogi Graha is Venus. Since the Yogi point is in Leo and Leo is ruled by the Sun, the duplicate Yogi Graha is the Sun. Now for the Avayogi point, it's at 28 degrees and 35 minutes in Aquarius. This falls under Purva Bhadrapada Nakshatra, which is ruled by Jupiter. So the Avayogi Graha is Jupiter. As you can see, all of this matches exactly with the values shown in Sri Jyoti star, confirming our calculations. Now that we've completed the tedious part, the calculations, let's talk about what this actually means and how to use the information. To reiterate, the influence of Yogi Avayogi and duplicate Yogi is solely on wealth prospects. They do not affect other areas of life like relationships or health. Here's the key idea: the Yogi Graha and the duplicate Yogi Graha are beneficial for wealth. They promote prosperity and financial gain. The Avayogi Graha, on the other hand, obstructs wealth. Its influence can bring delays, losses, or challenges in material matters. An important structural point: the Yogi Graha will always be different from the Avayogi Yogi Graha. That's because we know the Avayogi is counted 6 positions away from the Yogi in the Vimshottari Dasha sequence, and each planet appears only once in that order. However, the duplicate Yogi Graha can be the same as the Yogi or the Avayogi. For example, let's say the Yogi point is at 1 degrees in Pisces, that falls in Purva Bhadrapada, a nakshatra ruled by Jupiter, and Pisces is also ruled by Jupiter. So in this case, both the Yogi and the duplicate Yogi are Jupiter. This is a case of confluence, both promoting wealth, amplifying the potential for prosperity if Jupiter is strong in the chart. On the flip side, if the duplicate Yogi turns out to be the same as the Avayogi, we get conflict. You have a planet that's supposed to promote wealth, but also carries the obstructing nature of the Avayogi. In such cases, the duplicate Yogi behaves more like an Avayogi unless it is strongly supported or influenced by the Yogi Graha. Now that we've gone over how the Yogi, Avayogi, and duplicate Yogi work in relationship to wealth, let's talk about how strength and placement influence the manifestation of the results. For the Yogi Graha to enhance wealth prospects, it needs to be strong and well placed in a chart. A well placed and strong yogi will actively promote and enhance wealth and prosperity. However, a weak or poorly placed yogi may have little to no effect, not significantly improving wealth prospects. Similarly, an avayogi that is well placed and strong will have a strong obstructing influence on wealth. A weak or poorly placed avayogi, on the other hand, wouldn't create much damage. It wouldn't block the flow of wealth significantly. In short, you want to maximize the strength of your yogi while keeping the avayogi placement and strength weak in a chart to ensure the best prospects for financial success. To help visualize this, here's a chart that combines the strength of the grahas involved in a wealth or poverty yoga alongside the influence of the yogi or avayogi on the entire yoga or the component grahas of the yoga. For a wealth yoga, when the yogi graha is strong and well placed, it further enhances the wealth prospects of the yoga. Strong grahas, supported by a well placed yogi, can really amplify the potential for wealth and prosperity. On the flip side, for poverty yogas, weak grahas combined with a strong avayogi influence further worsens the chances of wealth, deepening the challenges related to financial matters. In most charts, however, you'll find a mix of these factors. This is where judgment comes into play. By considering the overall strength and placement of each factor, the astrologer can determine whether the overall impact uplifts or downgrades the results of the yoga. Now that we have the concepts and calculations in place, let's look at some example charts to see how these principles play out in real life scenarios. First, let's look at an example of a chart where the positive influence of a well placed yogi plays a significant role. We're taking a look at Arnold Schwarzenegger, the famous Terminator and former governor of California. His chart serves as a great example of the powerful influence of a well placed yogi. The yogi point in Arnold's chart is at 26 degrees and 43 minutes in Gemini, and the yogi graha is Jupiter. Now, notice that the ascendant point is very close to the yogi point, and it's located in the yogi nakshatra of Punarvasu, which is ruled by Jupiter. What's more, the natural benefics in Arnold's chart, Mercury, the ascendant lord, Venus, and Jupiter, are all in the nakshatras owned by Jupiter. This alignment strengthens the positive influence of the yogi in his chart. Additionally, the moon, Rahu, and Mars are all also influenced by Jupiter, either through sign ownership or aspect. This creates a highly supportive environment for wealth, success, and prosperity in his life. Arnold's chart runs the dashas of Jupiter influenced grahas from the age of 1 to 78, which further reinforces the positive impact of the yogi. As you can see, Schwarzenegger's chart is a perfect example of how a well placed yogi can lead to an overall positive effect, boosting wealth, success, and accomplishments throughout one's life. Next, let's look at another interesting example, that of Tom Hanks, the renowned actor and producer. His chart provides an example of the obstructive influence of a strong avayogi on a dhana yoga. In Tom Hanks' chart, Mercury is the avayogi. Mercury is involved in a dhana yoga, which is a wealth yoga formed by the conjunction of the Sun as the first lord with Mercury as the lord of the second and the 11th. This would normally indicate positive wealth prospects. The Mercury Mahadasha ran for his first 17 years of life, and during this time, his family went through significant financial struggles. This example highlights the influence of a strong avayogi. Even though the Dhana Yoga is present in the chart, the avayogi Mercury obstructs the full manifestation of wealth and prosperity during the Mercury Mahadasha. Our final example highlights the influence of a strong avayogi through the chart of His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama. In his chart, Venus is the avayogi and it has a strong influence on the moon. It was during the moon Mahadasha that Dalai Lama had to flee from his homeland of Tibet, leaving behind all his possessions and royal privileges. He began a life in exile in India, effectively starting over from nothing. This is a good example of how the influence of a strong avayogi, in this case Venus, can obstruct wealth and stability, especially in the Mahadasha of the Graha the avayogi influences, the moon Mahadasha in this case. In conclusion, the yogi, duplicate yogi, and avayogi, unique to the Seshadri Iyer system, offers nuanced insights into the wealth potential of a chart. The yogi and duplicate yogi promote wealth while the avayogi obstructs it. Their influence becomes significant only when these grahas are strongly placed and influence wealth related yogas. A strong yogi enhances prosperity, whereas a strong avayogi can suppress even promising dhana yogas. Real life charts, like those of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Tom Hanks, and the Dalai Lama, illustrate the practical impact of these grahas on their wealth prospects.